Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's BluntSociety over here from South Africa. I don't know what time it is over there for you, Bingus.
Almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
And like I'm saying, the babies are going to sleep over here in South Africa.
The computer makes the world a smaller place.
That's definitely it. So, I just want everybody to meet Bingus. A lot of them already know you, but here in South Africa, he's a legal grower. Among so many other things, he's been growing since the 70s. He's a geneticist, a breeder. He's big on cannabis awareness, and just also big on sharing knowledge about what the plant can provide and just the medicinal aspects of the cannabis plant and everything around it. In above and beyond. So I cannot wait to hear more about you. But you can also just give us a quick intro as to also who you are, just from the horse's mouth.
You can find me Bingus503 on wherever, and I just go to Google and type in Bingus503. You'll see my YouTube, you'll see Instagram, you'll see my Deviant art page. I do a lot of graphic art as well as grow cannabis. If you ever want to reach me in the future. But yeah, I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I'll be 70 in February. So it's been about 50 years, I think, that I've been involved. I've been arrested twice. I've done time for the plant, but it's always been my go-to thing, not only to survive, but to just maintain balance.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, it's when I was a kid, I mean, you're talking late 60s, early 70s, and it was, of course, illegal. And I was very much brainwashed into what they wanted us to believe about the plant. I got a job at a car wash, I think when I was about 13, and there was a car wash shack where all the guys go and smoke their cigarettes and what have you. And there was one guy there that would be rolling up marijuana, and I really frowned on it. I was much younger than him, so I really couldn't say much of anything. Back then, we actually had fist fights and things to you were actually
to settle things out.
well, if you ran your mouth, you had a tendency to get a fist in it if it wasn't acceptable behavior.
Yeah.
And he was much bigger and stronger, so I didn't. But I carried that into high school, and had a girlfriend that tried to get me to smoke, and I just no. I mean, I was very convicted to what I thought the system that I was in. I believed in that. And that word right there kind of screwed me over a bit. But I was an athlete. I did a lot of sports. I ran track. I ran the half mile. And I was a sophomore in high school running varsity track. And the quarter miler was marvelous. He was a state champion. And he would always disappear behind the dugout, which was near the track. And one time he drugged me with him. And what he was doing back there was smoking a joint before his race. And I said, dude, I got a race. And I wasn't really.
I wouldn't smoke while I'm racing. What are you doing? Yeah.
I was very but he was, it was peer pressure big time, right? And he goes, and I said, all right, give it to me. I just kind of faked like I did one, but that didn't fly. He goes, just hang on a second. We ain't going nowhere. I go, man, I have a race to run. He goes, so do I, and I'm like, and he took that joint and he just took a big old draw on it and blew out this big cloud, right? And I could tell he got high, and he goes, now we ain't leaving until you do exactly what I just did. So I did that, and man, that was the first time smoke like that have ever entered my lungs. I
Yeah.
dropped to my knees. My eyes were
Coughing.
watering. I
Oh
mean,
no.
and I immediately got extremely high.
Yeah.
And
Having never have taken cannabis ever in your life until that point.
well, I changed my whole. I go, wow. And he goes, "Are you getting it now?" And I'm like, "Wow." It's just like, and so I ran my best race ever in my whole
Wow.
track career, which wasn't, during high school was all, but
No.
I ran, I ran like sub 2 minute. I mean, it was just, and so I was pretty much hooked. Not only that, I slept like a baby. Um, and I had trouble. I had post traumatic stress. I didn't realize at the time, but I had a lot of abuse when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I couldn't sleep at night. I have nightmares and shit, and I slept. And so, next day I'm looking for a bag of cannabis, weed, we called it, of course,
Yeah.
and I've been doing it one way or another ever since. So that's how it started.
I mean, a lot of people usually they don't mind cigarette smoke in the streets, for example, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
they've
yeah.
kind of used to it, and it's like even though they don't smoke cigarettes, it's like it's fine. But then when you smoke weed, like somewhere, maybe it's not even in a public place,
Oh
but some in a social setting, people are much more
right.
aware of that smell, and some
Yeah.
take more offense to it as opposed to cigarettes or anything else.
Um, Here in Oregon, in the United States, and today, no, nobody gives a nobody. It's legal. Police. I mean, the sheriff's office is just down the street. Um, I have a carbon filter on my grow, but it still stinks. I mean, they know what I do. I've been arrested twice for it, so it's not like it's like, well, I guess you're not going to stop, and now it's legal, so have fun. I mean, it's
Yeah,
basically their attitude. But yeah, I can smell it. I'll never always be able to. Is it offensive?
yeah,
No. To some people, I imagine, I don't go out reeking. I mean, I try to maintain a very low profile, but a lot of people are very surprised when they find out that I smoke weed. They're like, "Wow, you don't look like somebody that smoked weed." I'm like, "I've heard
yeah,
that a lot. I've heard that a lot throughout my life, but even when
yeah.
I wore a three-piece suit, I was smoking weed."
It's because there's this stigma of people that smoke weed are generally scruffy and nasty and dirty.
Okay, so there's an element in the
Yeah,
cannabis culture, I guess you could say. Um, for me, it's about balance, but for some, it's about balancing out whatever other addiction they may be on. Okay, and a lot of people go to cannabis to help them through whatever other drugs they're trying to cope with, and then it doesn't. Then I see reactions that aren't really in balance. I mean, it's not really being used as a way to balance your life. It's being used as a way to placate you not doing what you need to do to balance your life, and that is to get off the drugs or whatever else that is causing you to be out of balance. Right.
yes, yeah.
So,
So now, this is a very interesting topic because a lot of people don't know about the endocannabinoid system,
mm,
and from the time that you started smoking marijuana, weed, cannabis, and up until it was discovered, which I believe was in the early 90s, can you just speak more about how the endocannabinoid system actually, what is it, what does it do for people, and how does cannabis and the endocannabinoid system play a role in human beings' lives?
all right. So, sure. uh, the Indo, yeah, it was only invented. Nobody, they discovered it, I think, in the 80s is when it was first discovered. The endocannabinoid system is designed in all mammals. Humans are mammals. There's billions of endocannabinoid receptors throughout your body, and what it's designed to do is regulate or balance your body. So the euphoric feeling that you get um, is more of the interdimensional aspects of what it can do for you versus the endocannabinoid activation. All right. So if you're activating your cells, like I take a very high CBD, non psychoactive tablet every morning just to balance out certain aspects of what this particular human instrument requires at this age that I'm at. And that's something that is an individualized technique that people have to experiment with. But cannabis is a companion plant for mammals or for humanity. All right. And it's designed to keep us in balance. And I didn't, of course, realize that, but that's exactly what happened for me when I first did it. I mean, my life, it came into balance. I mean, it's, I mean, if you go back to the first century of humanity, okay, it was about Mother Nature, Father, Son, and we understood our childlike caretaker role within that aspect, okay, and we celebrated everything had a god because it was the essence of the spirit that was within whatever topic you want to get into, all right, whether it be plants or rocks or whatever, all right. But by the third century, we had this movement towards monotheism and religion, and that is requires belief. Well, belief is, in my mind, a restrictive word. Um, I think it should be removed and replaced with deeper understanding. All right. If
Okay.
you have a deeper understanding, you have room to adjust that understanding as things change through the linear aspects of time. All right. If you
Yes.
believe, you, dude, some people will die for a belief that isn't even real, it isn't even true. I mean,
Yeah.
they could find out later in life if they would have lived, right?
Yeah.
That you just died for nothing.
Yeah.
So it's cannabis, in my mind, again, it's a companion plant for humanity and helps us come to these types of deeper understandings. And the endocannabinoid system has to be in balance for you even to think this way, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which is very beautiful because following up on that, um, I know that you're an artist and a creative at heart as well. So this interdimensional aspect of the plant and about even you just as a human or the spirit you, right? Like the one that's attached to the endocannabinoid um, system that is interdimensional when it meets up with the cannabinoids, right? Like that you can you just explain to us more about the artworks you create? Because I've seen on your Instagram pages there's a lot of art that also in the description, in the captions, it goes deep into explaining a lot of things that I think I still don't fully understand.
Well, neither did I. It's the interdimensional aspect of who we are is closer to the reality of truth than the belief systems that we have in this social program of separation. All right. What happened by the third century with the introduction of religion became political and monetary elites that started to infiltrate and separate. And with religion, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, I'm just speaking historically, okay, you have to believe. And immediately that creates separation. So, and then they take that to, if you look at today's society, it's unbelievably separative,
Yeah,
okay?
to
But it,
extremes. Yeah.
but it's also fragmenting before our eyes. Um, we can get into all of these types of theories. I mean, I have deep understandings about it, but When it comes to cannabis, all right, it allows, okay, like a lot of people like to say that, I've been told that cannabis keeps you from the dream state, which is not true in my experience. If anything, it helps promote that through being in balance when you go into the dream world. And the dream world is your interdimensional reality. And time no longer is linear, it's fluid.
Yeah.
So you can, there's so much to learn on that side of your life. Most people go to sleep and they don't want to. We've been conditioned for centuries, all right, thousands of years actually, to think that dreams are just, you dreamer, you just dreamer. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
dream on, buddy, dream on.
Yeah.
All the cliches, but that's who you really are. If you want to find out who you really are, you have to go into your multidimensional self.
Yeah.
And learning how to do that can be greatly assisted, especially if you're out of balance, through activating your endocannabinoid system. However you want to do it. Cannabis, I think, is the best way because it caps you. It only allows the CB1 and the CB2 receptors in your mind. It will only expand them to approximately 60 to 65%. All right, which means it's protecting you. All right,
Yeah.
but it's showing you the way to find out who you really are and why you're here. And um, I don't know. I don't get me started. I can go on and on about
Yeah,
this.
no, definitely. On the issue of not on the issue, on the topic of dreams, the issue of lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
Um, so do you think that cannabis can assist with clearing up the world of dreams and oneself? Like you're saying, like how can how can people because yes, we know that it helps you sleep, but
Mhm.
now you're going one level deeper by saying um not only does it give you better dreams, because there's also a stigma attached to it that if you utilize cannabis, then you don't get any dreams, like you switch off when you sleep. But the contrary is, like you're saying now, like it helps attach more to yourself and allows you to become much more aware. So, in that regard, um, people do connect deeper with their dreams, like you're saying, yes?
Yes. The most people are living half a life. Okay. Period. And I'd be miserable too. And a lot of people are miserable because they're only living half a life, and they won't accept um, the understanding that the human instrument, the body, that we're within, that the soul, the first source, God, whatever is within. Nobody argues about it. Do you have a soul? Yeah. Okay. Are you connected with it? If you're in a separative mindset, no, you're not. So it's okay. So they we come into like the ego. Okay, so who takes over? Well, the ego. Well, it's like, all right, and you get into all this mysterious murk and smoke because that's what the societal controls want you to get into. All right, but
Yes.
it's quite clear if you meditation is another way to clear the clutter that keeps you from dreaming. Um, the harder, well, I can't meditate. I hear this all the time. I just can't sit there and do that. Well, okay. So, why? So, and you're not dreaming, are you? No. Okay. Well, there you go. There's your first clue, right? Sit there long enough to where you can quiet your mind using whatever technique you need to do. Once you start quieting your mind, your higher self will start knocking on the door and basically speaking to you and pointing you in the directions that you need to recognize that somehow you missed because you were so wrapped up in your belief. of separatism. All right. And these are natural things that we've just lost track of through the conditioning of the hierarchy of this social program of separation, is probably the most accurate term that one can use. All right. And the same people in the first century that coaxed us into this avenue of belief are the same blood drinking oligarch mothers that run the world.
Yeah.
So nothing really has changed. There's just a lot more of us. And once we do connect with your soul, once you merge with that and start dreaming in a multidimensional manner, they're done. You won't need to be
So,
governed. You won't need any governing. Okay.
so, what is your standpoint? What's your belief on, or what's your viewpoint rather, on the legalization, the mass legalization that's happening worldwide? Do you think that there's any advantages, or do you think there's disadvantages to this?
Uh, it's inevitable. Okay. The how do I explain this? The awakening, basically, of cannabis as a mechanism, as is basically a companion plant for humanity. It's always been medicine. All right. Um, I think 2012. We're on the Earth is a rock. It's hurtling through space. When you go to sleep and you wake up, the Earth has gone about at least 2 million miles closer towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So we're moving and we're following the sun, which is kind of pulling us in this direction. And we don't just go in a straight line towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and that's where we're headed. All right. It's a energetic uh, loop or signature wave energy. It's the proper term. All right. So it takes about 24,000 years to complete a wave as we're spiraling towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Okay.
Mm.
So when we go above the meridian of the Milky Way galaxy, that's called the meridian. We breached that around 2012. So we're well above the meridian, and we're actually about 9 to 10 degrees um, above, to where we're receiving energy now, different energy. If you look up, the sun's not yellow anymore, it's more of a white color.
Mhm.
All right, so we're receiving different energy from our sun, from the Father Sun. Okay, so as the children, that affects our DNA. And
Yeah.
what happens is you're forced into balance, or you're going to go a little nuts. I mean, it's going to be
Mm.
difficult. All right, shouldn't say nuts. I mean, it's going to be difficult for you as a human being. You're receiving more energy. If you grab an amp meter, you'll see what the energy is coming in at. All right, and then if you step on a grounding mat or something, you can see how it drops immediately. So when you're being bombarded by the sun with this energy, which is new energy, which is activating parts of our DNA, all right, that haven't been activated before,
Yeah.
you're going to start to gain a deeper understanding of the human instrument that you're within, because it's the human instrument now is becoming activated.
Yeah.
And it's the law of physics. There's not a question about this. I mean, people, want to argue. It's just physics.
Yeah. It's almost like coming from HPS to LEDs, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So the activation, all right. Okay, so when you start to become vibrating at a higher energy, the human instrument is designed to be multidimensional. So you're going to naturally want to lean towards things, psilocybin, mushrooms. A lot of people use all kinds of different psychedelics Um, you got to be concerned of health. But again, this is the same activity that happened in the first century. They were using the Greeks, ancient Greeks were using psychedelics to attain multidimensional aspects of who they are. All right. So we're repeating history, only we've got way more population now. It's
Yeah.
not something new. It's something that's very misunderstood because truth has been skewed with belief.
Yeah.
So it's,
And like you said, the belief should be deeper understanding, should be swapped for deeper understanding.
in my opinion, people
Because
that,
there's room for understanding more and for unlearning.
well, it's like most people, well, I believe this. Okay. First of all, that quick little thing has been educated into you from first grade to wherever you are now. All right.
Yeah.
If it was, well, it's my understanding, which is saying the same thing. It's my understanding. Boom. It opens, first of all, the mind, it's like a door. Certain
Yeah.
words, you close it. Belief.
Yeah.
Bing. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Deeper understanding. Yeah. Oh, okay. What can I do?
Yeah.
See, it's, but we're so conditioned uh, from as soon as we pop out, man. I mean, what do? They hang you upside down, and smack you on the ass. Hello. Well,
Hmm.
that's not very nurturing. It's just like, then for men, sometimes they cut part of your genitalia off. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, so you're traumatized. And so what trauma forces you into your ego aspect of the human instrument, of the human body, in the mind, the psychology of it. It creates scars uh, where you end up with a post-traumatic experience for the rest of your life. And there's ways to cope with it. There's ways to deal with that. Cannabis opens the door, in my opinion, to a lot of this underlying trauma that children go through just to enter into this system of social separation. And it's changing. I'm very optimistic, probably in the next 2 to 3 generations, that we're all going to be interdimensional, and
Yeah.
there'll be no need to be governed. I mean, there, it should be ridiculous almost, you know,
Yeah.
because you would understand how energy works. If you put out bad energy, get ready, you're going to get smacked.
Yeah.
And so it starts to become common sense, like do good, all right. So it's just, again, this is my humble opinion. I don't normally talk like this, brother, so forgive me.
The thing is, like what you're mentioning right now is so nailed to the coffin because there's been this huge shift in the world. It's almost like there's a portal that's opened and people are sensing energies much easier. There's
Mhm.
this huge awakening. I don't know, like this larger awakening, mass and mass, and it's not even like you're not hypothesizing anything. If anybody is blind, then they can't see, of course.
Yeah.
But on that topic, I want to take the cosmology that you're discussing into the plant that is cannabis.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people like to look at the sun cycles, but can you talk about, as a breeder, as a geneticist, can you talk about how the moon, um, seeing that you talk about cosmology here, how the moon affects the growing stages of cannabis, and how does that tie into cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system in mammals?
Well, I'll be honest. I'm not a very. I'm not. I don't have a lot of knowledge in that aspect. I know that it does affect the plant and the type of medicine that it can produce. Calves is the guy to talk to on that. I've incorporated indoor growing because of where I live, so that doesn't hasn't been a issue that I address much. All right.
Yeah.
There's I'm creating a indoor environment cycle. I mean, I'm sure there's some energy aspects of the moon, I know there is as far as getting your seeds to germinate properly sometimes,
Mhm.
but I can't really go in depth on that, brother. Forgive me. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I don't have
Um,
knowledge.
all of this is very important, like I said, Bingus, because as you know, there is not much academic and scientific resources available for us, especially for this plant. And by opening up these questions and having these things out there, then hopefully there's going to be people that would want to dive deeper and answer these questions, right?
There are, I mean, there are like calves. Uh,
Yeah,
it's common knowledge that whatever works in the moon cycles for regular agriculture is
yeah,
definitely going to work for cannabis.
yeah. So no matter how psychoactive a plant is, um, or whether it's fungi, whether it's an animal, whether it's a plant, the moon affects us basically all in the same way. Okay, now let's jump into the cannabis like we were initially.
Yeah, sorry.
It's just very interesting to just have some background, just
Sure.
so we can know exactly who we're talking about and what you have going on because you are a breeder. You do make cannabis seeds. You do make bird seeds,
Mhm.
the beans, and it's always good when people are looking for selections, are looking for something to grow. They always want to attach to something that kind of makes sense to them. So just kind of knowing your breeder is something that a lot of people are into because they feel more connected to their plants that way. So I want to ask you a question, which is a very big question I've seen in the industry of the pollen chuckers and breeders. Do you know
Mhm.
a difference? Is there a difference? And what is the difference?
I think if there is a difference, I don't know. If you're a professionally renowned seed company, you have breeders. If you're not, if you're a novelist, you're chucking pollen, basically. Um, Breeders, I mean, it adds again, words, all right? A lot of people call me a breeder, and I'm like, I don't know. Not so much. I mean, I've worked for a commercial company in the breeding department. I learned a lot there. Um, I used to go live on YouTube every morning. I had a guy come into my chat room, which again, the power of the internet. And
Yeah.
he invited me to his farm, which was only 30 minutes from my house. And and it was commercial um, CBD seed company. And we had like seven different breeding. I ended up going to work there in the
Yeah.
breeding department. And so we spent some time with uh, the spectrometers and that you can utilize and stuff like that. But that's at the commercial level, and then that's what I
Mhm.
would call breeding, where we did like 80,000 seedlings. Okay,
That's a lot.
yeah. So now you're a breeder. Okay, and there's more than one person involved. There's
Yeah.
spectrometers. There's testing. There's so much more to it to create a consistency in your product. Okay.
That's so true. I mean, because I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Phone's just going crazy. I'm so sorry. I cannot imagine Feno hunting just 100 seeds as opposed to 80,000.
Yeah. I got pictures. I got actually a video about that somewhere. But yeah, it's mind blowing, really. It changed my thinking um, about a lot of things, genetic wise, humans as well as plants and everything, because of the stresses that were placed on generations of or populace, basically an 80,000 person populace or plant populace, and it made me think a lot on a much higher level. And it was a good experience. I didn't stay working there. They Anyway, that's a different. But
Yeah.
it added to my understanding. What I do. is, and I would, again, this is just my opinion, over the years, you get a plant and you like it, all right? And so you clone off of it. And then you get another plant and you like it. And you start cloning off of it. But then the one plant you realize after you've had it for a while, it's like, gosh, I wish it had a little bit of that, the other plant that I like in this plant. All right. Because I think that would make it better. And then, and then you make that happen. Right. And the way I would do it is you force a hermaphrodization or feminization, right? You change a plant to a male. Okay, that's very risky. I'll tell you straight up. We used to do that where I used to work as a breeder, and it's very tricky. And it's
To
not so.
reverse a female to a male, like using STS and CS.
Yeah, it's risky because it can bring hermaphrodite characteristics. Okay, and you have to test for that, and it can take up to 2-3 years before you really are sure that things are
Oh my.
all right. Now, are you there? Uh oh, I think we froze up.